Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in.
To the podcast, lovely people. Today we have Dr. Harmony Robinson-Stagg on the podcast. She is a beautiful human being, a multi-modality holistic health practitioner, doctor in Chinese medicine, and she's recently published a book called Ayurveda and the Alchemy of Her, which is essentially an Ayurveda take on overcoming body burnout and hormones. So we're going to dive into that topic through the lens of more of this very ancient healing wisdom, which has spanned 5,000 years, which is amazing. And it's really drawing on the nature and the seasons and the cycles of nature and how we can support our bodies depending on our own constitutions. I know that you'll find so many amazing little gems. I learned a lot and definitely saw myself in different what are called Ayurveda constitutions. So a little bit about Dr. Harmony before we dive into the interview. She is a leading Ayurveda and women's health practitioner, doctor of Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and registered nurse. With over 20 years of experience, Harmony masterfully integrates Ayurvedic wisdom, acupuncture, and Western health practices to guide women towards optimal health, hormonal balance, and holistic success. Her signature higHERself, which is higHERself method, combines ancient healing with evidence-based science, making her a trusted mentor and thought leader in both holistic health and wellness entrepreneurship. As the founder and lead educator of the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy, Harmony offers comprehensive training programs including Ayurveda Holistic Health Coaching, Vedic Breathwork Practitioner certification, and Ayurvedic body therapy courses. She equips women with the tools to build thriving, purposeful-driven businesses that transforms lives. And yeah, she's a phenomenal human being. So I know that you are going to love today's episode.
G'day guys and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are excited to bring to you special guest. We have Dr. Harmony Robinson-Stagg with us today.
Hello.
So thank you so much, Harmony, for coming onto the show. We're excited to have a good conversation with you, get to know a little bit more about you and what you do.
And your new book.
Yeah, totally.
Which has been birthed out into the world, which is so exciting.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here and chat with you lovely people as well.
So good.
For sure.
Okay, when we have guests on, especially if they are working in the holistic health space, as you are, we love to just dive straight into the personal story so that our listeners can really get to know you and what you've kind of like worked through yourself, which is then carried over into the work that you do with your clients.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So my story starts a little while back before the birth of my kids. I was working as a nurse in an emergency department, which was very high intense. I was also a triathlete. I was also running my own business. I had an activewear business at that time, and I was studying more fields in the health and wellness space, such as yoga, Pilates, all of those type of things.
Busy.
And then yeah, it was busy, but I was managing because young, vibrant, didn't have kids. Then I fell pregnant. And then I was like, okay, I'll slow down a little bit when I have my boys. Oh, at that time, I didn't know what I was having, my child. Then I found out I was having twins, and I was I I was going to say I enjoyed my pregnancy, but I enjoyed the fact that I was pregnant because I wanted children. I really did. However, the pregnancy wasn't amazing. I was
Mm.
finding myself quite sick. I was running to the bathroom in the middle of the emergency department, vomiting my guts up basically. But I've always just been taught and told that I'm strong. Like
Mm.
I'm a strong woman. I can handle everything. Growing up, my mum was an alcoholic, and I felt like I had a lot of the weight of the world on my shoulders, having to be the strong one for everyone.
Mm.
And so I had that like, suck it up, keep going. Also, I don't know if you can resonate, but I grew up in the 90s, which was very much of a sort of hustle culture, harden the, F up type
Yeah.
thing and go. So even when I was pregnant, I sort of had this sort of persona. I just had to keep pushing through. So I did. And then I had my twin boys. I went back to work. I was still studying. I started my coaching business on the side in health coaching. And I just sort of lost my sense of self. And I became really exhausted. My body had obviously changed. My hormones had changed. All of, so much of me had changed. And I started really asking the deeper sort of questions of what do I really want out of my life? Like, who am I now? Like, I feel like my whole role and responsibility is a mother, which I'm so grateful to be. But at the same time, I felt really disconnected from myself. So, like a lot of women, I started to feel really depleted or just notice that I was depleted. However, I still ignored every signal that my body was sending me, the brain fog, the gut issues, the irregular cycles, the anxiety. And I kind of just wore that exhaustion as a badge of honor still. And I was thinking that if I could still push through this as a mother, like I can still do it all and have it all, it meant I was strong, like I was
Yeah.
superwoman. I had like the superwoman syndrome. But the truth was that I was actually very disconnected from my body and my inner wisdom. My nervous system was shot, my hormones were all over the place, and I didn't even recognize myself anymore. I was so confused. And then I remember one day, I was preparing the boys something to eat. And by this stage, they were in those little, those little, they can't walk properly, but you put them in these little walkie things and they sort of walk all around the house being supported by these little buggies. And they were roaming all around. And I just broke down in tears on my kitchen floor. I just started crying. And I'm like, I feel my body feels terrible. It doesn't feel like my body. My mind is all over the place. I feel a loss of disconnect with who I am, what I want to do. And I should be really, really grateful because I
Mm.
actually have a beautiful life, a beautiful family, beautiful children. And that's when I realized I was in the thick of absolute burnout.
Hmm. So common. So
Yeah.
common. What do you think? I mean, you've mentioned a lot of things that was going on around that time, and in hindsight, now being able to recognize patterns and disconnect. What do you think was at the root, like the root cause
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the body burnout?
Um, yeah. So obviously, there was the fact that I was doing too much and I was just trying to push through at the detriment to my own mental health and my body. But I think the root for me was really disconnection. And that's disconnection from my body, from my feminine rhythms, and from my true self. I was living in this survival mode and I was constantly in this fight or flight response and really trapped in the masculine paradigm of success. I was still hustling, I was still pushing, I was still wanting to produce, different outcomes with my study, with my business, whilst learning how to be a new mother. So I was just constantly in this hustle culture, which made me really disconnect from myself. And Ayurveda calls this living out a rhythm with your prakriti. And your prakriti is your innate natural constitution, your individual, unique nature.
Mm.
So my root cause wasn't
Nice.
just stress, it was really misalignment with who I truly am.
Yeah, the Constitutions is one of the podcast episodes I listened to this morning. Do you feel like that disconnect? You mentioned your mother being an alcoholic and then you kind of taking on that carer role or that responsible role. Do you kind of feel like that's where the patterns started showing up?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'll just go back to the constitutions and
Mm.
then talk on that aspect of it. So, Ayurveda sees burnout as an imbalance of the doshas or our individual constitutions, as well as our agni, so our digestive fire. And that's not just digestive of our food, but the way that we digest our emotions and our thoughts and our ojas, our life essence. And so when we push beyond our energetic capacity, we burn our reserve, so to speak. However, each constitution from an Ayurvedic perspective will burn out a little different.
Mm.
And so the Vata constitution, they can become really anxious, scattered, and very depleted, emaciated. They can suffer with insomnia, overwhelm. And then physical manifestations would include like dry skin, bloating, gassy, those type of things. A Pitta type of burnout, that is when they usually push themselves until they explode. And they can become really irritable. They can get skin breakouts, acid reflux, hormonal rage, these type of things. Whereas the kapha type of burnout is a lot more slower, but they often really sink into this heaviness. They can turn into inertia and a bit of depression and emotional numbness. Now, going back to what you asked about my mum being an alcoholic, with that being on my shoulders, having to sort of be the strong one and always on edge around her as well, I felt that that increased my pitta constitution.
Is that the
And so,
second? Is it that the second one?
yeah, so
Yeah. Okay.
the fire
That's the
constitution.
one that I resonate with when I think about my past body burnout
Yes.
experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess when I looked at it from an Ayurvedic psychology perspective, this is years and years later, I realized that, I had always sort of felt not enough
Mm.
in my mother's eyes because she would have to drink. Like, why do you have to drink around me? Am I not just enough? It isn't not enough being your daughter and you being a mother to me. And so I took on that as I have to always prove my worth.
Mm.
Not only do I have to be the strong one, but I have to be really productive to prove my worth of who I am in this
Yeah.
world. And so that prototype really fits in with the Pitta constitution. And so the concept in Ayurveda is like attracts like. And so more heat, more fire, more productivity, more push, increase that pitta constitution. So when I burnt out, it was a reflection of those years of myself trying to prove my worth because I didn't feel good enough because my mum couldn't be sober around me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that wasn't her truth now when I look
Mm.
at it from an Ayurvedic perspective and psychology perspective. Like her truth wasn't my truth, but it's the framing, the imprints that were left in my mind as a child. We call them samskaras. That's what drove me into my adult life.
Mm. Yeah. So interesting. Um, oh, this might be a bit segue. Do I ask it now or later? Yeah, let's just ask it now. The
Do it.
constituents. Oh, is it constitutions or
Yeah, our individual
Okay,
constitution, or the doshas, we call them in
the
Ayurveda.
doshas? Yeah. Do you? Because I think when I was listening to your podcast episode on it, there was something around. Are you born? You're born with this constitution, is that right? And
Yeah,
how
so
and how do you figure out what constitution you are? Is that based on when you were born or just based on patterns that are showing up?
yeah. So your prakriti is the constitution you're born with. So that is the underlying blueprint of who you are.
Mhm.
And it is determined by the time you were born, your mother's genetics, your father's genetics, how you're conceived, your mother's diet. Like there's so much that goes into what determines your prakriti, your
Mhm.
natural constitution, even the season you're born in. So if you're born in summer, you might be more likely to have some extra fire elements in there, which might lead to more of the pitta element. I'm not born in summer.
Yeah.
I was born in autumn. But that sort of helps determine your prakriti. There's so many different facts. However, after we're born, obviously, our lives can go down many different paths. We choose different friendship groups. We do choose different types of exercise. Our prakriti will determine our innate natural abilities to do well in things. Like maybe we're more creative, maybe we're wonderful dancers, maybe we're really strong physically, maybe we're better at writing, and so on. But over time, we get into different patterns in our life that is more an environmental influence, and even the nutrition, the food we eat, the climate that we end up maybe moving and migrating to, and they will change our constitution. And that becomes our vikriti. And that constitution is the imbalanced state that we have. And so that's the one that we need to balance. And that's the one in Ayurveda that we start supporting when we realize and understand that it's imbalanced. So the time that I went into my burnout, I was very much in the state of a vata pitta vikriti imbalanced state. So I was doing too much. I had too much going on. I was all scattered all over the place. That's sort of the vata energy of movement. But I was also pushing and hustling too hard and burning out. And that's the pitta state.
Okay. Are you resonating with any constitution in particular? I'm just curious if Chris is like he's using ChatGPT at the moment. So whether that's
did a little chucking of ChatGPT just to find like the three, just having a look at them. I think I resonate with the Vata Pitta Kapha. I'd probably like throw it all in there, have a little bit of each, you know.
And that's exactly right. We are all three. We can't not be. You know, we are made of all three. We just all have an individual different proportion of each of the three within us.
Yeah.
And then is it coming back to balance with that proportion, which will look different for different people?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I probably resonate most with the how do you say it, kapha? Like I'm just reading in ChatGPT like about like what that looks like. More like emotional.
Yeah.
Like just cooked emotionally, just like can't.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. I think that more out of the three that more resonates with me personally. Yeah. That's interesting.
And we look at someone's mental prakriti, but also like their physical prakriti. So you can look at, you know, the hands, the facial structure, the hair, the eyes, and that can help us understand more of their sort of physical prakriti as well.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
So what did it look like for you to come out of that in terms of your healing journey?
Yeah. So to start with, I had to be really honest with myself and be like, you know, something's got to give. And unfortunately, that something was me. And I had to work out, like, what am I going to do from here? I had already decided that I wanted to continue and deep dive into my Ayurvedic studies. I had already studied Ayurvedic psychology and yoga and all these different things.
Curious. What before, like, just because you're there in the timeline, what piqued your interest with this?
Think so. Whilst I said mum was an alcoholic, she also had this flip side, and dad. They were very earthy. I mean, my name's Harmony. I didn't give me myself that name.
I love your name, by the way. It's so good for Harmony Inspired, your podcast title, who you are as a practitioner. I'm like, why wasn't I gifted Harmony?
You're Philippa, lover of horses.
Lover of horses is what my name means.
Gallop through life.
I grew up riding horses. I love horses. They're amazing. It's your spirit animal.
Sorry, segue.
No, but funny thing is I hated my name growing up because it was a bit different, you know? People would be like,
hippie.
oh, Peace, Love and Harmony, or Harmony and Melody. And I'd be like, yeah, I haven't heard that before. But then when I, come of age, I really embraced the name. but going back to your question, so what was it, how I got
Well,
out of the
yeah, like
burnout
just
or the
that
study?
was the first question, and then you started talking that you started training in Ayurveda
Yeah,
medicine, and I was just like, oh, it's such a because it's Eastern, yeah, it's an Eastern
yeah,
style of
yeah,
medicine. So I was just curious what piqued your interest, being an
yeah,
Aussie girl, to find that as your
yeah.
place of healing.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so growing up, I was exposed to a lot of natural health, natural medicine, um, like homeopathy, naturopathy, and Ayurveda is the original form of naturopathy. It's one of the most original forms of medicine known to man. It's like 5,000 years old. And so I'd already been exposed to the pathway, I suppose. And then when I got into yoga at a very young age as well, and yoga is actually the sister science to Ayurveda.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the three Vedic sciences. There's yoga, there's Ayurveda, which is the health science, and then there's Jyotish or Vedic astrology, which is the overseer. And so because I've always been into health and wellness and have studied so many different fields in that, Ayurveda was the sort of logical pathway for me.
Mm,
And when I started learning little bits about it, it just deeply resonated. And I was like, I feel like I have lived this before. Like
yeah.
it just truly resonated. And so I guess I started to really look into the Ayurvedic psychology side of things because that's when I was in the thick of my burnout. And I knew I had to free my mind of these like expectations I was putting on myself. And I didn't really know how to do that and how to articulate that. So I did a lot of reading and that it started from there. And then I sort of weaved in and looked at it as a whole health modality and studied an advanced Ayurvedic medicine diploma.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of how that came about. And then when I started to apply the practices and embody, and that's the thing, like Ayurveda is a science and an art of embodiment. So you can read and understand all the things, but until you actually apply it to your life, you don't know the capacity of it, of its power. And so I was reading all the things. It wasn't until I started applying the principles to my life that little subtle things would shift. And I just noticed I felt a lot more freer in my mind. I was in I was in my nursing role and I knew I didn't want to be there forever. I knew I wanted to shift out of that because that was contributing a lot to my burnout. But instead of feeling resentful about that, I started to feel grateful that I had a government backed job that was providing me with an income so that I could work on my passion, my dharma, what I felt was my purpose. And that was really at that time studying and embodying the art of Ayurveda. And I knew I was going to make something more of it. So I knew I was going to go down the business pathway with it. And once I started implementing the different diets, so I've got a very much a Vata constitution in my body and with my dietary system. So I would get very bloated and I'd be eating all the salads, like I'd eat
Mm,
healthy salads all the time, but they're very cold and hard to digest. And so for my constitution, it wasn't supporting my gut health, even though it was quote unquote healthy. So
mm-hmm.
when I started implementing more cooked, warm, grounding foods that Vata needs, I noticed that my gut health started to improve when I started aligning my energy and my thought processes started to create a dinacharya. It's what we call our sort of daily routine. My hormones started to settle. And so it wasn't overnight, but it was over time. These subtle things that I was doing through this Ayurvedic protocol I had set for myself through my study, I realized I was making huge shifts. And then my husband made a comment and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like you have changed so much and you're so good at regulating yourself now." And that was almost one of the biggest compliments because as a pitta we can go and just fly off the handle.
Wow.
Like, rah. But I was just regulating myself. And hormonal imbalances a lot of the time stem from stress
Mm.
and not being able to regulate our central nervous system. And so I think that was the power of embodying the practices was being able to regulate my whole nervous system and really sort of quiet the chatter that was in my mind. So I could start to ask myself more quality questions that would give me better quality of life.
Yeah, that's so good. So, in terms of practices, because you mentioned eating,
Mhm.
could you share, like going back to the three constitutions, like different ways people might be eating, moving their body, lifestyle wise? I guess like how maybe self care practices to regulate or respond to stresses. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that there's different things for different constitutions that are going to help personally with that person. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you have more of a Vata constitution and your Vata's imbalanced, that will look like a little bit more erratic. So Vata is governed by the ether, so the space and the air element. So if you think of air can, I mean, we were discussing how windy it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Today.
My
And so
crazy
wind
hair.
crazy hair, like movement, wind can change. It can make you feel really flighty. It can make you feel anxious. It can make you feel stressed. There's so much sort of going on, a lot of movement. And so we want to bring in the opposite. So, like I said, there's a principle in Ayurveda, like attracts like, but
Mm-hmm.
also opposites balance or decrease each other. So the opposite to movement is more grounding, nurturing, earthing. So a Vata constitution, they typically, when they're balanced, they're very creative, they're very intuitive, they're great communicators, they're very friendly, great at speaking. But when they're imbalanced, they can become very scattered with their words and with their mind. They can lack routine, they can become hypersensitive. And so, what we want to do for the Vata people is actually bring in routine. Even though they don't like rules and often don't like routines, they need that because they need the grounding. They need to feel safe in their mind and body because Vata
Yeah.
governs that central nervous system.
Mm.
And so for them as well, when it comes to their digestion, it can often be represented with a lot of gas and a lot of airy bloating because of that air element. So instead of having cold, raw foods, which increases that quality, we want to give them nourishing, warm, grounding foods. So, like root vegetables, they need to be sitting down when they're eating, not like eating on the fly, sculling some coffee. Like that's only going to increase the vata.
Mm.
There's a practice we call self abhyanga, which is giving yourself a self oil massage daily.
Mm.
And that not only helps with the lymphatic system, but it helps govern the central nervous system and support the vata dosha. So there's some things that you can do if you're feeling very vata.
Mm.
So pitta is governed by the fire and water element. So they can become very overheated. They are really good leaders when they're balanced. They can be very productive when they're balanced. They're very sharp, have a sharp intellect. They can have a really good digestive power when they're balanced. When they're imbalanced, they can become so stuck in what they're doing that they overwork, they burn themselves out, they become very irritable, they can become judgmental, a bit angry, and so on. And
Chris
so
is like,
All right, I'm kind
I
of
was waiting for
I'm
Chris
kind
to
of
say
resonating with
something.
that
Are
a
you
bit.
talking about for me
Oh, I think
or for
both of
you?
us we get into a little competitive type thing. No,
very competitive. They are
I'm
so
more competitive than
competitive.
you are.
No, I am.
No, I am.
Exactly. The bitters, the fire. Fire with fire, it combusts, right? So the more fuel we add onto the fire, the more that they're going to become elevated. And
Mm.
so what they need often is cooling. And so that might be going out and walking in nature if it's cool, obviously.
Mm.
I'm going for a swim, but also when they're balanced, they're passionate, but when that passion becomes overheated, it can become quite forceful and judgmental.
Yeah.
So, what happens when they're out of balance? We need to bring a little bit more fun and lightness into their life. So, often with my pitta clients, they'll have a to-do list that's just like back to back, and they're like, what else can I do to help my constitution? What else? I'm like, well, you can actually do less. That's what you
Yeah,
need to do.
take some
Less.
things off the list.
Take it off. And if you're going to add anything, schedule in some time to just have fun.
Mm.
Like, just don't be competitive about it. Don't go to a hot yoga class and be like, ooh, look at me, am I doing dances right? Like, just go and enjoy moving your body in a different way. So Pitta people, we need to have a little bit more fun, enjoy the elements of nature, release things from our to-do list, do some beautiful breath work that is cooling. So there's a Shitali breath where we curl our tongue and breathe through our mouth, like,
Oh, yeah, it's like sucking a straw.
yeah, exactly. And you can feel the cool air coming. That's going to cool Pitta. Whereas when we breathe through the nose, which is usually the preferred method of breathing, this is actually warming for the body. So that's more appropriate for Vata.
What
And then with
about,
Kapha,
oh, can I just
yeah,
ask,
sorry.
food? Is that
Yeah.
kind of like more cooling food if you're feeling quite like heightened pitta?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you don't want to be going and getting spicy hot Mexican if you're already feeling heated and spicy, because it's going to add more spice to the spice.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to add some more cooling elements. So some nice cucumber or cooling in nature herbs like coriander. So there's different sort of spices and herbs and food groups that are going to support pitta. Watermelon's beautiful as well for if you're in that heightened pitta vibe.
One of my big, I mean, our listeners would know, but one of my big symptoms in the past was histamine intolerance. So it's all
Yeah.
making sense. It's very hot and
Oh, yeah.
fiery and like everything's like exploding.
Yeah, definitely. So pitta. So we have different foods that would suit your constitution, and genuinely you'll look through those and they are the lower histamine types of foods. Yeah, absolutely. And then we have kapha, and kapha is made up of the earth and water element. So a balanced kapha, they're actually very stable. You know, they've got a good stable structure. They have a lot of endurance. They're very kind. They're very nurturing. But when they're imbalanced, often they don't put in a lot of boundaries. So people can overstep their boundaries. They can become inertia. So they can find themselves in a more depressed state.
Shut down.
They shut down.
Yeah.
They might be unmotivated, lack movement. So what we need to do is we actually need to bring in more of the fire element of passion and igniting their inner fire, as well as some of the air element to help to get them to move their body, move through their emotions, because they can become very stagnant and stuck. So what that could look like for a kapha person is waking up and doing like a breath of fire. So you're initiating the fire in the morning, you're moving the lungs. Maybe you're going for a brisk walk. Maybe you're doing some abhyanga with mustard oil or dry brushing to move the stagnation of the lymphatic system. Looking for things that ignite a fire within you. And then when it comes to the dietary aspect, because they often feel more heavy and stagnant, we want to offer foods that are lighter in nature. So we don't want them having cold buckets of ice cream and thick, creamy curries and anything that's going to make them more stagnant. We want lighter, more sattvic foods and a little bit of spice as well to bring in the heat and the fire within them.
So cool. I love it.
So I don't think I'm eating according to my needs there. So I feel like I'm gonna disagree with myself about the kapha thing. I think I'm
same.
more identifying with the pitta, the fiery, and then ChatGPT. Like I just punched in, like as you were speaking, I'm just like brr, brr.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. So like, and then going back to what you were saying about like foods and spicy things and stuff like that, and fermented things. Man, I think that's me. Like I'll
You like the fermented foods?
fermented and the spicy things, but I feel like I'm always spicy. You know, like I'm always. So that could be an interesting little experiment to roll with a different type of thing.
Well, what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're Harmony. If we're just using the pitta constitution, if that's balanced and you've kind of got your other ones balanced, a body will tolerate spicy foods fine. Yeah, it's just more if it's kind of like, whoa, the bottle's about to burst. Don't add more fire to the fire. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. When you're balanced, you can get away with a lot more,
Yeah.
right? It's more noticing when that imbalance comes in. However, even when you're balanced, that means that your prakriti, your natural constitution, is doing really well, like everything's balanced. You still are mindful of what may push that into a vikriti, an imbalanced state. So if you have a higher prakriti in pitta, the fire element, and then everything that you do for the next week or so is just like fire invoking, then it could become an imbalanced state where you would
Yeah.
have to bring in the opposites. And another saying in Ayurveda is like one man's medicine can be another man's poison,
Yeah.
meaning like it's not always because we have different constitutions, one thing might serve someone wonderfully, but make somebody else more ill.
Yeah. Yeah. So if someone asking for a friend was eating a lot of spicy food and then he has really hot spicy poos and it's burning his butt, is that a sign that it's like too much, Chris?
Wait.
Yeah. Too much pitta going on there.
It's happened. Don't lie.
I also.
But I resonate with that. Like I can eat all the foods now. I can eat histamine foods as well, but my body wisdom still says like not too much tomato today sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, or like I prepped something earlier for dinner tonight and I'm doing like a curry and I went to put in some canned tomatoes and I was just like, yeah, no, I won't do that. We'll just put in some nice mild curries. And it was for no other reason than I just kind of like listened to what I wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's wonderful awareness. And that's exactly what Ayurveda is all about, is just being super self-aware so that you can make the right choices for you and to optimize your health and well-being.
I have a question. This is about your husband. This is
Okay.
how does he? What's the question? The question is something like, how does he go with this stuff? Like when you do, how's your
How are you
conversation?
allowed to talk about her husband?
How's your conversations around this with him? Like,
Is he into it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Like he's like, Harmony, what should I eat today?
yeah, with
How
partner.
should I move my body?
He is now. And just for context, my husband is medical. He's in the medical field.
Yeah,
He's a
right.
doctor.
Yeah.
Anaesthetist.
There you
So
go.
he is very much Western medicine. And like when we met, we're both Western medicine. And since being with me, he has seen another way, and he is very much receptive to it. So even recently, he had a few things go his pitta. So of course, first triathlon, Noosa triathlon, training like a madman, like just ridiculous, very, very, very competitive. And he also has an underlying heart condition. And so that it was triggering that. His pitta was increasing the heart fire, right? And so he did like have a few words with some colleagues who are cardiologists, and they're like, just calm down on the training. But the way he decided to support that, because he wasn't really going to calm down on the training till he'd done the triathlon, let's be honest, he's bitter. He decided to ask for the Ayurvedic input, and he was happy to listen to me to support himself in that way because he wasn't going to go down the medical path right now. And so we Arjuna is one of the beautiful cardiac herbs that he had. He looked at his diet. We did a little bit around the lifestyle, and even some acupuncture. So he's really open and receptive to it because he's seen what it can do.
Awesome.
You must be stepping into the pitta leadership really well
Yes.
to
That's
mold that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm actually very logical and science minded. I love science. I value it. I like to know things and always want to peel back, but why, but why, but why? And sometimes he's even more sort of like just accepts it for what it is than I do. I'm like, no, I also want to know how the science connects to this. So
Yeah, I'm actually
That's
the
awesome.
same. So in our practice, we like, I guess our physical science side of it is functional medicine and doing the lab testing and seeing what's happening in your body
mhm.
systems. But then we also do a lot of kind of like unconscious healing of patterns and beliefs and communicating with the body and the symptoms,
I
which, I
love
mean,
that.
there's a bunch of science, but I'm always like, and how does this connect? What's the neuroscience behind that? It's like, I don't like, I'm okay for it. Actually, like, now, in the past, I wouldn't have been okay with woo woo. It's like woo woo,
Yeah,
like that's not going to do anything. Whereas now
yeah,
I see that there's magic in the unknown, but still my
yeah.
brain is also like, and what's the science behind that? Oh, there's a lot of science behind the woo woo.
Yeah, I totally get it. And I do functional labs as well. And yeah, I value all of that. But I guess with Ayurveda, like it is the oldest sort of medicine known to men. It's been tried and tested over 5,000 years old. And the word itself means the science of life and longevity.
Awesome.
Um,
That's
and
cool.
and even in the Vedas, like the text, obviously there was no printers, paper and pen originally, so it was handed down through the oral route and then written on palm leaves and then finally made into textbooks. But they left the last few pages blank. And that's because it is the science of life. And so they knew there was going to be new emerging practitioners and science, and that life does change inevitably. But what
Mm,
Ayurveda does do is it draws all of its insights from nature, and that's pretty
mm,
stable in understanding like the deep core of it because nature is nature and it's been around forever.
mm.
And so when you can bring your insights from nature, you can work with the medicine for a very, very, very long time.
Mm,
Fascinating.
yeah, it is so
Yeah.
fascinating. Okay, so some of your work focuses on rewriting the rules of success for women, which I think is, it sounds like that's born out of your story and recognizing the hustle culture and patriarchy and all of that that feeds into it.
Yeah.
Um, why do you feel like, I guess, what does that look like in terms of rewriting that story?
Yeah. So in regards to say the hustle culture and the masculine, is
Mm-hmm.
that yeah.
Yeah.
I guess when we're in that mode of being, it really disconnects us as women from our biology.
Mm-hmm.
So the traditional model of success, it's quite linear, like we're always producing, we're always on, like I was before I hit burnout. But women, we're very cyclical, yeah.
Mm,
And we're not designed to be in go mode 24/7. So I think when we ignore our cycles, we override our hormonal intelligence, and that leads to dysregulation physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And
mm,
so we really need to reframe success through a feminine lens, and that is to honor the rest that we need. It's to be able to flow. It's to tap into our innate wisdom, like you did with the tomatoes, you know.
mm.
It's about nourishment, like complete soul, body, mind nourishment and alignment. And I think that's what we need to be more aware of than just trying to succeed to tick off our to-do list and to prove our worth as women. Because even if you look at it, it hasn't been that long, really, that we have been invited in the workplace and we have been invited to vote. Like, you know, it was to the masculine that told us like when we could even do all this.
Mhm.
And so we're still finding our way in this rhythm, trying to be and do it all and prove our worth in society.
Mm.
I think it's really important that we also have to come back to how we are biologically fit, and that is in align with our cyclical nature as women.
Yeah. So, just in terms of, I guess, from a Ayurvedic perspective, or maybe even Chinese medicine perspective, what are your thoughts around the cycle in terms of, like, are you looking at that from the point of view of seasons as well, and like a natural cycle over the 30 days?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I think this is, you know, when we do talk about things like biohacking our hormones and all of this, it really is just coming back into alignment with our cycle. And I will also preface this to say that not every woman is having a cycle, because for many reasons, they might have gone into menopause already. Maybe they've been put into a surgical menopause, an early menopause. Maybe they're taking a contraceptive pill. And if you don't have a natural cycle, you can still cycle with the moon. Because like I said, Ayurveda draws its insight from nature. And so it still helps you go into a cyclical rhythm without having to physically have a menstrual cycle. But I think one of the most powerful things that a woman can do is track and honor their cycle. And at every phase, we have the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, the ovulatory phase, and the luteal phase. And each of those different phases brings a unique essence and flavor and superpower to our abilities as women. And I guess when we look at it from that energetic standpoint, when we're menstruating, and if we're following the moon cycle, this will be like the new moon. So more of the yin aspect. This is a time for rest, reflection, and release. Like that's what our body's doing. It's releasing, it's cleansing. From the Ayurvedic perspective, it's also the Vata aspect of the menstrual cycle, meaning that because it is governing what we call apana vayu, that downward movement, it is activating more of the Vata dosha. And so we need to bring in more of that grounding rest from that aspect as well. Then when we look at the follicular phase of the cycle, so this would be going into the next phase of the moon, so we've got the new moon and then the next phase. This is when we can start to plan and we can start new projects, because we've already sort of rested, we've planted the seed in the menstruation, and now we're moving into more of an active phase. This is when our estrogen is starting to become at its highest point. So it grows the follicles so that we can release the wonderful egg in ovulation. And it gives us more energy and insights. And so this phase of the cycle is more kapha promoting. So meaning kapha governs growth, right? And so in this phase where we're growing, we're increasing the estrogen. And so it is a time to balance that with more movement. And then we have ovulation. And this is a great time of transformation. It's a time of creativity, like we can create life at this time. And this is more the pitta phase of the cycle because it governs that transformation. And so we need to be a little bit more mindful and of maybe being overproductive. Sometimes we might find that, yep, that sounds good. We fill our to-do list, our calendar's full, we've like committed to all these things. And then we get to the next phase and we're like, oh my God, I've got to scrap all of the calendar. Because then we get into the luteal phase, and this is when we often need to set those boundaries and relook at what we have accumulated over the first phases of our cycle, and start to step back a little bit. So when we align with the rhythm of the cycle, then we become more vitalized. We increase our ojas and our tejas and all these wonderful, beautiful essence. But when we ignore the rhythm, we end up exhausted and depleted. And this is sort of, I guess, what we can call our hormonal advantage, right? We have this advantage, this sort of constant monitoring of our physical form and our physical bodies and our wonderful biology. So if we really sort of tap into what that looks like for us, we get to, again, understand ourselves better and how we function.
I went to a retreat recently and there was a Chinese medicine practitioner, lovely lady, and she was talking about the cycles, and when she was talking about leading up to your period, so the luteal phase, she called it the witching hour. Just the words were like, oh, she's like, yeah, you turn into a witch. But the witch is powerful. The witch will tell you if boundaries have not been put in. It'll tell you, she will tell you the things you've been repressing. But also she doesn't have to be so witchy if you've been honoring the rest of the cycle. where it's
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, when I'm bleeding, I rest. And, when my estrogen is starting to rise and I'm ovulating, well, I'm like putting out more, like not sexually, or maybe that might be.
Technically, that is the time. That you're more
Yeah, but it's kind of like if you haven't been, and I've felt that within my own cycle as well. So if it's been I don't know, I've pushed too much during my period or like right before it, it'll show up again in the next cycle. It's
Yeah,
kind of like this beautiful mirror of what was happening
absolutely.
previously. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you're driving too much of the estrogen without the good balance of progesterone, that will increase your histamine response as well. So you'll notice as someone who is more susceptible to histamine intolerance and being might of a pitta constitution, when it comes around your cycle, you might get more crampy. There's because histamine will trigger the prostaglandins, which then triggers more histamine. So you'll really start to feel the effects of that pitta dosha coming into play, histamine intolerance.
Yeah. This has been awesome. So I could keep talking to you for hours, I think. So many other questions, but can we end with you sharing about your book? And you've got 3 pillars inside of your book.
Yeah.
Ayurveda. I keep looking at the spelling of Ayurveda and I'm like, Ayurveda is how we pronounce
Perfectly.
it. Ayurveda and the Alchemy of Her is your new book that's come out. And that covers 3 pillars. Can you share that and then how people can find the book?
Yeah, it does. So it covers a bit of my personal story. There's a lot in there around identity shifts and all of the things that sort of led to this point of the higher self methodology, which then goes through the 3 pillars of healing, and that's coming from 20 years of clinical experience in the health and wellness space. And so the higher self method is my signature framework that I share in Ayurveda and the Alchemy of Her. And it is also how I healed and how I guide other high achieving women. And so the first pillar is, and really when we can start to embody all 3 of these pillars, that this is what allows us to rise into our higher self. And so the first pillar is health alchemy. And this is really aligning your body with your unique constitution and your cycle. So it's about hormonal imbalance. It's about nervous system support and regulation, how to apply Ayurvedic nutrition to your individual constitution. We're looking at the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and dharmic elements of your health and how they must alchemize to really achieve that optimal health. The second pillar is called the empowered mind paradigm. So that's all about how to rewire your beliefs, healing those samskaras, which are the imprints left on your chitta mind or your subconscious mind, and reclaiming your inner authenticity, because you can't heal or you can't succeed from a disempowered state. So we need an empowered state of mind to make any positive shifts and changes in our life. And then the third pillar is dharmic impact. And this is really about living as your truest self and living your purpose without the cost of, without sort of burnout and without the cost of your health, you know. So how can we create an impact that's sustainable, that's really soulful, that's really aligned, that makes us want to wake up every day and just feel gratitude for our life because we're completely aligned in our dharmic path. And dharma is a word that often correlates to purpose in the West, but it's so much more than that. It's really about living in alignment, showing up as a person you say you want to be. It's doing all of your actions with integrity and from that place. And so when you can add this dharmic alignment with an empowered mind and optimal hormonal and female health with your individual constitution, it really helps you to rise into your higher self, which is that most magnetic, healthy, and authentic version of you.
So good. Have you got a picture there on YouTube? Oh, this is the quiz. Weird. So you also do have a free quiz as well, Discover Your Dosha quiz, which I think is essentially what you're talking about in that third pillar.
Yeah. Well,
Oh no, the dosha is the
vascular.
constitutions.
Yeah, constitution. Yeah. So
I'm
if
learning
you
all the
want to find out,
terminology.
yeah, if you want to find out what your individual constitution is, which is where it all starts, because that's how you align your health, your emotional health, all of that. Your constitution is going to really help you figure out your unique blueprint, really, and how to live your life in alignment.
Awesome. We'll make sure the book and the quiz are in your show notes, and we'll pop a link to your website as well so people can find out more about you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been a
Thank
very
you.
enlightening conversation. I've learnt heaps.
So good. I know our listeners will pick up lots of gold nuggets. And be excited to jump onto your website. I've just like had a little browse on your website. You have so many awesome courses, your book, your podcast, your blog, from business owner in the health and wellness industry to another one. I'm impressed. I'm proud. I'm excited. I'm like, you are doing such cool stuff. It's really awesome. I love it. I love it so much.
Thanks.
Good stuff.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. I'm on my dharmic path.
You.
So good.
All right. Well, stick around, Harmony. But everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on our next episode.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.